The hall of the Galactic Music Council. Stretched beyond sight, it's crystalline. Pillars reaching toward a ceiling lost in manufactured starlight. Representatives from 200 civilizations filled the amphitheater, their forms ranging from the elegant silicon-based Frez to the hulking methane breathers. From the outer spiral, at the center platform stood Ambassador Kalen Voss, the only human in a chamber designed to make individuals feel insignificant. He had known this day would come. The signs have been accumulating for months. Trade routes mysteriously closing. Shipments delayed. Communications ignored. Now as he stood before the assembled powers of known space, Kalen understood that humanity's 30-year membership in the Galactic Union was about to end. The High Orbiter, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric lattice, spoke with a voice that resonated through every translation device in the chamber. The petition has been reviewed. Humanity's application for continued membership status has been denied. Kalen's jaw tightened. On what grounds? Your species lacks the qualities necessary for productive integration, the Arbiter said. You possess no remarkable physical capabilities. Your technology remains derivative of systems we provided. Your lifespan is brief. Your worlds are few. The resources allocated to human integration could better serve species with greater potential. Around the chamber, representatives whispered among themselves. Some looked apologetic. Most appeared indifferent. The Crodax delegation actually laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Kalen had prepared for condemnation. He had prepared for hostility. He had not prepared for dismissal. They were not casting humanity out as a threat. They were discarding them as irrelevant. We have contributed, Kalen said, fighting to keep his voice steady. Human engineers helped design the quantum relay stations. Our medical researchers developed treatments for the Korvax plague. Our explorers mapped the dark zones, and we are grateful for these modest contributions, the Arbiter replied. However, analysis indicates that maintaining human membership costs more than it provides. Other species can fill the roles you currently occupy. The decision is final. Kalen looked across the faces and forms arrayed before him. 30 years ago, first contact had seemed like humanity's greatest triumph. Now he understood it had simply been a transaction, and humanity had been found wanting. When do we have to leave? He asked. Your vessels have 3 standard cycles to depart from Union space. All technology granted under membership protocols must be returned. All joint ventures dissolved. Humanity will retain sovereignty over your home system and the 2 colony worlds, but you are prohibited from expansion beyond those boundaries. 3 days. Humanity had 3 days to pack up everything they had built across a generation and retreat to the corners they had started from. Kalen nodded slowly. Then I suppose there's nothing left to say except this. He looked directly at the Arbiter. You will regret this decision. The chamber erupted in chittering, warbling laughter. The sound echoed off the crystalline walls like mockery made. Manifest, is that a threat? Ambassador, the Arbiter asked. No. Kalen said, it's a prediction. He turned and walked toward the exit, each step measured and deliberate. He would not run. He would not let them see desperation or fear. The massive doors sealed behind him with a sound of finality. In the docking bay, his small Shuttle waited as Kalen climbed aboard. His second in command, Commander Sarah Chen, met him at the airlock. She had been monitoring the proceedings from the ship. I heard, she said quietly. Orders. Set course for Earth. Encrypt everything. Burn the trade agreements and partnership contracts. Strip any Union tech from our systems. He paused, looking back at the council. Station through the viewport and send a priority message to Director Reeves at the Shadow Projects Division. Chen's eyes widened slightly. The black programs. Sir, those were supposed to be emergency contingencies only. This qualifies. Kalen said, tell Reeves it's time. Operation Rising Star is authorized. The shuttle broke away from the station, its engines flaring as it accelerated toward the jump point. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its sessions, already moving on to matters they deemed more important. Humanity was dismissed, forgotten, relegated to a footnote. They had no idea what they had just done. Kalen settled into the command chair and pulled up a classified file he had been given 5 years ago by Earth Security Council. At the time he had thought it paranoid, a waste of resources. Now, reading through the contents, he felt something unexpected bloom in his chest. Hope. While humanity had publicly participated in the Galactic Union, sharing technology and culture, a parallel program had been running in secret. Scientists, engineers, and strategists had been preparing for exactly this scenario. Not building weapons, though those existed too, building something far more valuable: independence. The file detailed hidden research stations in uncharted systems, experimental drives that didn't rely on Union technology, weapon systems designed around human advantages rather than alien templates, manufacturing centers built in the dark spaces between stars and something else, something the report called the catalyst. Chen appeared in the doorway. Message sent to Reeves. He acknowledged receipt. He also sent a personal note. She handed Kalen a data pad. The message was brief. They wanted to discard us. Let's show them what happens when you throw away something dangerous. Kalen smiled. It was not a kind expression. How long to Earth? He asked. 18 hours. Good. I want to address the entire species when we arrive. Every human, every colony, every station. He looked at Chen. Tell them the truth. The Union has abandoned us. That will cause panic. Let it, Kalen said. Fear is useful. It focuses the mind, and we're going to need focus for what comes next. The shuttle jumped to faster than light travel, leaving the Union behind. In the darkness between stars, humanity's real work was about to begin. 6 months after humanity's expulsion from the Galactic Union, the galaxy began to notice something strange. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for centuries were experiencing unexplained disruptions. Ships arrived at their destinations to find their cargo had been purchased by anonymous buyers at twice the asking price. Resources the Union had taken for granted suddenly became scarce, and in the border regions where Union authority had always been absolute, new players were emerging. The High Arbiter convened an emergency session of the Council. Something was destabilizing their carefully ordered galaxy, and they needed to understand what. The Krot hacks. Conflict has escalated beyond projections, reported the Vex Trade Minister. They've acquired weapons we don't recognize. Their tactics have changed. They're fighting smarter, the mining. Corporations in Sector 7 have been bought out, added the economic coordinator. All of them by shell companies we can't trace, and there are reports, the military commander said quietly, of ships that appear on sensors and then vanish, not cloaked, gone, as if they exist in different space entirely. The arbiter listened to report after report, each one describing phenomena that shouldn't be possible. The Union had spent millennia establishing order. Now, that order was fraying at the edges. Could this be connected to the humans? Someone asked. Laughter rippled through the chamber, though less certain than before. The humans have 3 worlds and outdated technology, the arbiter said. They are not capable of this, but the question once asked lingered on. Research Station Prometheus, Director Reeves stood before the catalyst as it hummed with power that bent reality. Around it, the test had succeeded beyond their projections. The device could create localized fields where the laws of physics operated according to human programming rather than universal constants. Ships equipped with catalyst-derived drives could move through dimensions the Union didn't know existed. Weapons channeling catalyst energy could bypass every defensive system in known space. Manufacturing touched by catalyst fields could reorganize matter at the molecular level. Humanity had not just developed new technology. They had discovered a new fundamental force. How many ships are equipped? Reeves asked. 47 and counting, Doctor. Yamada replied. The manufacturing stations are producing holes faster than we can install the drives. At this rate, we'll have a fleet of 300 within the year. Not enough for direct confrontation. No, but enough for everything else. Across human space, the Shadow Empire was taking shape on worlds the Union had never bothered to chart. Human colonies were being established with infrastructure that made Union settlements look primitive. Automated systems built cities while humans slept in stasis. Nanofactories transformed barren rocks into agricultural paradises. And the people were changing too. No longer the supplicants hoping for alien approval. Humanity had found something fiercer. Pride, purpose, a determination to prove that being cast aside was the Union's mistake, not humanity's failure. Commander Akinquo watched from Oracle Station as her carefully planted information bore fruit. The Krot-Hax war was consuming Union resources exactly as planned. 3 other minor conflicts had erupted in different sectors, each one triggered by intelligence leaks that Oracle had orchestrated. The Union was learning that stability was fragile, and they still had no idea who was pulling the strings. Ma'am, we're intercepting increased chatter about the phantom ships. Her communications officer reported that Union knows something is happening. They're starting to investigate. Let them look, Akinquo said. They won't find anything we don't want them to find. Ambassador Kalen Voss, no longer an ambassador to anyone, stood in a command center of humanity's first true warship. The vessel had no name yet. It existed in databases as Asset 1, ghost that would never appear on any registry. Around him, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. They were younger than he expected, men and women who had grown up knowing humanity had been rejected. They fought not for acceptance but for dominance. Sir, we're in position, the helmsman reported. Target is the Union listening post in the Damar system. Are there casualties expected? No, sir, the station is automated. We'll give the AI time to evacuate the databases before we destroy the hardware. Kalen nodded. This was the line they had agreed not to cross. They would disrupt, destabilize, even destroy, but they would not kill, not yet, not unless forced. Proceed. The warship's catalyst weapons fired beams of impossible energy that existed in spectrums the Union sensors couldn't detect. The listening post simply stopped existing, its molecules scattered across a dozen dimensions. Seconds later, the ship folded space and vanished, leaving no trace it had ever been there. Similar actions were occurring across Union territory. Strategic targets disappearing, supply lines disrupted, authority questioned, and always no evidence of who was responsible. But humanity's true victory was not measured in destroyed stations or disrupted trade. It was measured in the exodus that had begun. Other species were starting to ask questions. If the Union could cast aside humanity so casually, what protection did smaller species really have? Some were approaching human colonies, carefully, unofficially asking about trade agreements, about mutual defense pacts, about alternatives to Union membership. Humanity welcomed them not as subordinates but as partners. The Shadow Empire was becoming something more, a network of species who had been overlooked, dismissed, or deemed insufficient by the Union standards. On Earth, Kalen received a message that made him smile. It was from a Vex Merchant Collective, one of the Union's founding species. They were requesting a meeting privately. Off the record, they wanted to discuss economic opportunities that the Union wouldn't approve. It's beginning, Kalen said to Director Reeves, who had come to Earth for a strategic meeting. The fractures are showing. Another year, maybe two, and the Union won't be able to ignore us anymore. And when they finally acknowledge what we've built, Reeves asked. Kalen looked out at the stars beyond Earth's atmosphere. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was still meeting, still making decisions, still believing they controlled the galaxy. They would learn otherwise. When they finally see us, Kalen said, they won't be offering membership. They'll be asking for terms, and this time humanity will decide who gets accepted and who gets cast aside. 6 months ago, the galaxy had dismissed humanity as irrelevant. Now, in the shadows they had been forced into, humanity was forging something that Union had never imagined possible, an empire built not on dominance but on the determination of those who had been told they didn't matter. The galaxy had taught humanity a lesson. Now humanity would return the favor. The rising had begun. End of Part 3.